Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Yvonne Dam of Amazing Self Coaching, and this is the Be the CEO of Your Life live show. Here we make businesses grow easier. I share strategies and insights to help you double your business while reducing your working hours. Plus, you'll hear from industry experts who review how to scale with focus and freedom. Get ready to work smart, earn more, and live better. And today we have a very, very special guest with us that I'm very excited about because I know how important his work is, and that's Carm. Carm, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Carmine Cicalese. I'm the president of CyberCheck LLC. As you can tell from my background, I spent a little bit of time in the U.S. military, 29 years overall. And then after I retired, I organized our company to help predominantly DoD customers. Now we've moved on and helping small, medium-sized businesses secure their businesses.
I love that. And it's definitely something that is close to all our hearts because I know for a fact that we all need you, but not a lot of people take it so seriously, right? So talk to us a bit, Carm, because how can we sift through the noise and prioritize the right security measures?
So the first thing I like to say that the first important cybersecurity decision that a small, medium-sized business makes is to pick a great IT partner. Because great IT partner can give them some of those basic technologies like multi-factor authentication, PATS updates, and antivirus to help protect their business. But then I do say you have to move on from that and from there and recognize that this isn't IT risk, that cybersecurity is actually a business risk. Because there are a lot of things that are outside of IT's control and a lot of things that it's really not about your IT. It's about how it's going to affect the continuity of your business and your ability to stay profitable.
So I love that. So you're saying it's actually a business risk.
Sure. And I can give you some examples though. But if you look at things that can happen, for example, how many times has a business received an invoice and it's a faulty invoice? It's really a phishing attempt, and they're trying to get someone's trying to get paid for something they didn't do. Sure, that might come in over IT, but that's a process within invoice that you have to verify whether or not that is actually a valid bill, and then you have to go through a way of authenticating that. And it's really not just emailing back and saying, is this secure? Is you have to go back into your system, verify that there is a requirement to pay it, and then go back to them in another form of communication and verify that is someone that you're supposed to pay.
Okay, sounds like a lot of work. So where do we start? How do we prioritize things?
Well, I think the best way to start is to start off with some type of cyber risk assessment. There are many different models out there. And I suspect if you're watching this, you're probably a company that doesn't have a compliance requirement, because you have a compliance requirement like HIPAA, for example, or if you're a fintech and you've got something that you have to do, then you already know what that standard is and you're going to work towards it. For everybody else, then you have a choice of what you want to do. Now, some organizations or some business leaders like to use a bottom line approach. So you can apply a risk model where you're looking specifically at the bottom line, which one or which technique or which filling whatever vulnerability is going to reduce your risk the most at the best value. Or you can use something like the Center for Internet Security, or CIS standards, which are also pretty strong. And when in doubt, that's also a good standard to use, because then you can always go back in the event that something happens and prove that you did a due diligence because you used a known standard.
I love that. Can you give me an example, Carm? Because I understand we have to do an assessment, right? Where am I at risk, and then what happens? Give me an example of a client of yours that wasn't aware they were at risk and then they needed you. Can you share some stories with us?
Sure. I mean, unfortunately, the best examples are those that have been breached. And
Yes.
one that comes to mind recently was similar to what I was talking about invoicing. Is they had one of their employees asked to change their bank for when they were paid on a weekly basis. But there wasn't a verification process in there. It was value. And then they changed it and ended up, unfortunately, paying a fraudulent employee and lost that money. Now,
Wow.
yeah, so and when we went back through their processes, they didn't have something in there like multi-factor authentication. And what happens is, to give this an idea, you're told to have a diverse password of uppercase, lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. You realize now, thanks to AI, artificial intelligence, an 8-character complex password can be cracked in 1 second. So if you don't have multi-factor authentication, and now they're using AI and bots to cycle through your passwords or to try to log in without tripping the lockout, but they know how to cycle and time and come back to it, and being able to break into someone's password. And a lot of this is also through remote workers. And there's a whole nother risk that's coming in with remote workers, because so many of them are using their own device, or what you call BYOD, bring your own device.
Mm-hmm.
And now small, medium-sized businesses rely on this, but they bring a great deal of risk. And that has to be looked at. And again, some of that, someone's personal device, some of that's kind of beyond just what the IT team can do. But overall, when you look at all of these examples, I'm talking about, the organization didn't have them in place, and they were breached, and then they came to us, and when we were able to help them and go through this and remediate that and other things that we found.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I that's a good thing, and you raise a very valid point, because a lot of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, use indeed a lot of people, remote workers, with their own devices. So I can totally see how that's a risk. But this is not something I would have thought of to verify an email. But this is so important, because it's with respect to bank details, of course. Okay, so do you have any other daunting stories that we need to be aware of that kind of raises the bells for us?
Sure. If you have an on-prem server, do you know what your traffic flow is? So I have another example where we had a breach, and we went in, and the organization had an on-prem server, and they had a firewall in front of it. But nonetheless, we put an intrusion detection system on that. And then we were able to notice things. It was like, do you realize that you're losing, or there's an outgoing flow of a terabyte of information every evening at 1 a.m.? No, I don't. They didn't realize that. So we blocked it and see, okay, let's see what happens. And again, nothing happened. But they've got this outbound information and inbound flows, and that was another one. When you look at that, it's like, you're getting a lot of traffic coming in from Eastern Europe and Indonesia. Well, this is a completely U.S.-based company that only has U.S. customers, and they're actually along the East Coast. And clearly this traffic was completely extraneous. So, we blocked all that, reduced the inbound and outbound traffic, tenfold. And now able to tuning that with the firewall, and they're much more secure now because of it. And they also have a much better picture of who's trying to get in and what's getting blocked and what's not getting out, to include some of those other sites that are available in the United States, but you really don't want your workers going to.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Right. So let's talk a bit about why it's not a one and done thing, because we hear these horror stories. We hear, two-step verification, printers. Okay, so we hire you and then we're done. But that's not the case, is it?
Right, because when you get into that risk assessment, there are 3 critical parts, and there's people, processes, and technology. And some of this I've already started to talk about. But when you think about your people, you have to train them on a couple of things. One is just the awareness of those types of social engineering emails where they want you to click on something, click on now here. And of course, that's the phishing email. Consider that in most organizations, the estimate is that people are considered half of your attack surface. I think in some regards, it's maybe more than that. And that's because a lot of people or a lot of organizations might have actually a pretty secure technology stack that's not likely to get breached, but the easiest way is in through people. So they go after that. So you want to train them to not open, certain types of emails or not click on the links really.
Yeah.
But you also have to train them on your processes, and you have to develop processes that help protect your business. And some of those I've already talked about. For example, verifying invoices, verifying requests to change their bank for compensation. If you're a registered independent investment advisor, you cannot accept a request to buy funds or to shift stocks or anything like that off of an email or even a phone call. You have to have some type of twofold verification, because any system can be spoofed. And now we're looking at it where people, their voices and their images can be spoofed. Now, one of the great things is I'm moving my hands like this. It makes it less likely that I'm a deep fake. But with you just can't take something at face value if you're talking to even a Zoom connection and that person's not moving.
But
And then, so you've got people, processes, and then, technologies.
but
There are a
Carl,
lot of technologies out there. Again, a great IT partner can get you access to the right ones. But sometimes you don't need all of them. There's this perpetual push to buy more or to buy the latest and greatest. And you know what? Small, medium-sized businesses, really, you can't afford to do that. So you have to make smart choices.
I hear
And
you.
sometimes, depending on the type of business you are, what your IT company has is enough. Sometimes you might want to layer in some other type of service. There are other companies that they kind of lead with cybersecurity and then provide IT, and those offer. And there's different trade-offs on them. For the most part, what I noticed about IT companies are most of them are upping their game to provide more cybersecurity support. There are some that are not, and in my opinion, they're going to get left behind if they don't do some of the essentials.
Right. But Carm, you said something very shockingly. You said you cannot just go, based on an email, which I understand, especially with the example you just gave, right, with the change of bank account. But you also said you cannot based on a phone call. So you're telling me that people also make now fake phone calls?
Sure, they're called deep fakes. And for example, anybody watching this video right now or recording it is able to grab our voices. And, for software that's available on the internet for $5, you can get that. You can find the training for it and create, replicate either of our voices into a conversation. And now they can do it in real time, where the point is I can speak in my regular voice, and the application will translate that into a different voice or the intended voice that I want, and then transmit that over the phone. The other part that you have to realize is that, especially cell phones, can be spoofed, and we have like SIM swapping and the like. So that's why if you get like an email, and you get an email from Yvonne, and Yvonne puts her phone number on there, and she says, I want to change the bank where I'm paid. You just can't call back to that number. You have to go look up in your Rolodex and see what is a good number for Yvonne, or what is another way I can verify this with Yvonne, and maybe I can do a Teams call or something like that. But at least you've got to do something to mitigate that risk, because you just can't take anything at face value, one single transmission.
Okay. And you constantly need to be aware, because I'm assuming constantly, crooks are updating their things. So you need to be on top of it with your cybersecurity person to make sure you're always into the latest things that are happening.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then let's talk about this. And this is sounds like counterintuitive, right? Because how can you make your business boringly secure? So basically, you as a business owner, you concentrate on growth where your concentration should be. You shouldn't be walking around fearing breaches and, fixing breaches basically, because then you're a step too far. So how do you mitigate the risk up front, and how do you make your business so secure that I actually can focus on what I need to focus on, building out my business? What do we need to do, Carm?
Well, first of all, you want to be proactive. Don't be reactive. Don't wait for the breach.
Right.
Take the steps now and bring in an expert who can start the assessment and start that discussion. At least when you start off when you have the assessment, the first part in there is now you know what your vulnerabilities are on the other when you come out of that assessment. And now you can start to visualize your problem. And then you can also start to prioritize and apply resources. Now, you might not be able to fix everything at once. And that's okay. Because you realize, businesses don't exist to do cybersecurity unless they're a cybersecurity business. They exist to make a widget. They exist to sell a service, and you have to do that first. But by doing that assessment, now you can understand your problem, and you can start to bite it off in manageable pieces. And as you work through those people, processes, and technologies, and you prioritize, like which ones are interconnected, which ones are the best value. And then I can say, hey, I'm going to fund a third of these this year, and then a third of these the next year, and a third of these the year after that. And it might take that long, but that's okay. You understand what your priorities are. You understand, you have a plan on where you're going. And if something does happen, you're not going to be totally surprised because you've already done that homework and you understand where that gap is in play.
I love that. So then give us a great example of one of your clients that is like a lesson for us all.
One of the best lesson is the client who didn't wait. Okay? And they're out there, and we have a couple of clients where they brought us in. One of them was a cybersecurity startup. We went in as a strategic advisors. We're able to apply a very high-level risk model to it, using something that's even like very large at the strategic value, and it was called the director risk method. We applied that, and since then we've been helping that company now for over 3 years. They're doing well. They're able to mitigate those risks and stay out in front of their problems. We even brought in, after we helped design the solution, we also helped bring in a pen tester, went through the system, and the pen testing, without the credentials, they couldn't do anything. When we gave them the credentials, they could do very little. But they found some gaps. But we were very happy, and the customer was very happy that we really had helped them design a very secure system to support their customers, and that the enterprise they have is secure. And this is an important part, especially if you're in manufacturing and the like. But their business enterprise is separate from their customer enterprise. If you're a manufacturing company, what happens is a lot of manufacturing companies have integrated their manufacturing enterprise with their business enterprise. And what happens is that brings in a lot of vulnerabilities. When you're on the manufacturing side, and again, a lot of those things are not IT. That's not information technology. That's not their problem to fix. But they have vulnerabilities in there too. But by keeping them that contact minimal and still able to do their job efficiently, they have really reduced their client risk a great deal. And then also, if their business is compromised, and they're a cybersecurity company, if their business is compromised, business enterprise is compromised, but their clients aren't, that's a big win.
That is a big win, yes, because there are many clients. It's very often that people are aware of the risks and that they're a bit wary to provide information that is very personal because of all these breaches that keep happening. So, Carm, if someone would like to have security, cybersecurity that's boringly secure, where do we start? How do we go? How do we work with you?
Well, just DM me on LinkedIn, or you can go to our website. We also have a contact form there. And I think our contact information will also be here at the end of the conversation. Just reach out to us and have a phone call or two. Whatever it takes to get you comfortable and get you pointed in the right direction. We're happy to help. And if we're not the right fit, we'll help you get connected with somebody else who is.
And then talk to me, is it just for because that's the image a lot of people have as well, right? Cybersecurity is only for bigger companies. Is that true? Because I want to make sure that people reach out to you with the right mindset.
Yeah, so we focus on small and medium-sized businesses, but that in itself is pretty broad. But if you don't have an organic cybersecurity expertise, then we're probably the right fit for you.
Right.
Because one of the challenges out there right now in cybersecurity is we think that we have a lot of gaps or employment gaps and underemployment in cybersecurity, and there's not enough expertise to go around to companies to have a full-time expertise. But quite frankly, in a lot of the companies that we're helping, not only can you not afford full-time expertise, you don't need it. You just need someone to get them in there, get you oriented, and then stay with you intermittently to keep you on focus and on point. And if something does happen, is to help you in some type of incident response, which you hope doesn't happen, but there's no guarantee of anything because people are human. Even in your own organization, somebody might click on the wrong link despite all of your best efforts, and it happens.
Right.
But you don't want to be surprised when it happens.
So it's almost then we would have you as our, emergency solving person, right? When something does happen, there is someone. So even with smaller companies, because I think a lot of business owners have this idea, oh, it's only for big companies, I don't need it. But you're saying, yes, you do need it. Call us now so we can help you set it all up, make it as secure as possible. And then when something happens because one of your employees clicked on the wrong thing, because they thought it was a true thing, then we're just a phone call away. Do I summarize it correctly then?
Yep. We have a whole great bench of talented cybersecurity expertise. I'm just the guy who tries to run the company. But there's a lot of great expertise out there that is available to help small and medium-sized businesses.
Right. Okay. All right, Carm, I love that. Any final thoughts from your side or any final stories you want to share before we wrap it up?
I just thank everybody for tuning in. Again, if you have questions, even on the personal side, and you just want to know something or just want to have questions, just get a hold of me. Love to have the chat. And like I said, if we're not the right fit, we'll find you somebody else who is. It's really making sure that the business owner is comfortable with their decisions, and so that you sleep well at night. And that's why I want to keep it boring.
I like that. Okay, excellent. Carm, thank you so much for being here. My pleasure to hear more about how you keep companies boringly secure so that business owners can focus on their business growth.
Thank you, Yvonne, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a great day and have a great holiday.
Thank you all for joining us in the Be the CEO of Your Life show. If you're a business owner looking to double your business while working less, let's connect. If you want to make your business more secure, connect with Carm. My Freedom Accelerated program is here to guarantee growth without the grind. So connect with me here on this channel or visit my website on www.amaze-yourself.com to discover how we can take your business to the next level. I look forward to seeing you all next week, same time, same place, and happy holidays. Bye for now. Bye.